Who was the fastest apostle? Spoiler alert, I think it's John, and I promise you there's a point to this. Example number 1. In the Gospel of John, in chapter 20, the apostle whom Jesus loved, which is how John referred to himself in that gospel, outraces Peter to the empty tomb. And then Peter comes up behind him and Peter goes in first, but John beat him there. John was faster. Example number 2. In the book called Against Heresies, Irenaeus mentions something that Polycarp, one of John's students, said. John was one day in this bathhouse bathing, as they did back then, when he sees a man named Cerinthus in there. Now, Cerinthus was an open enemy of the gospel. He basically invented his own version of Christianity and tried to pass it off as the real thing. He denied the full deity of Christ. He denied the resurrection. Just a bunch of evil stuff in there. And when John sees him, he runs out of the building saying, "Let us fly, lest the place fall in." But once again, you see John running. Example number 3. In case you thought the last one sounded a little bit harsh, I think you'll like this one from Clement. He writes that one time John was doing traveling ministry work and he came across this young, charismatic, handsome youth, and he entrusted him into the care of the local bishop. And the bishop ended up raising this guy and ended up baptizing him into the Christian faith. Now, some years go by and this youth ends up falling in with this violent gang, and he is known especially for his bloody cruelty. So when John finds out about this, he's really upset. And he goes straight to the outlaws' base of operations. And when this young man sees John, he's overcome with guilt, it would seem, and he flees in shame. What does John do? I think we all know. Even though he's old, he runs after this guy as hard as he possibly can, and he's shouting to him. He says, "I will give account to Christ for you, and if necessary, gladly suffer death and give my life for yours, as the Lord suffered death for us. Stop. Believe. Christ sent me." The kid stops. He does repent in weeping, and he's restored back to the faith. Now that's 3 separate accounts by 3 separate writers, and John is running in all of them. And to me, that's just one of those little details that points to the validity and authenticity of these accounts. John seemed like a guy who was always ready to run. And now may we be people who run to what God is doing, run from false teaching, but run after the lost and bring them back to the God who loves them.